Happy Wednesday, everybody. Bentley and I, this is Bentley, my dog, who hasn't seen me all day because it's been a long, long day. We have some big announcements, and then I am thinking now is the time to to do Home Buying 101 chit chat. I'm going to be on here for hopefully no more than 10 minutes. I literally just got home a little bit ago. Still have to eat dinner and get my stuff ready for tomorrow. So couple of things I wanted to kind of go over, and kind of waiting for people to roll in here. So I've had quite a lot of buyers coming to me recently, really not aware that the market is so competitive and busy in most of the price brackets. So I wanted to kind of recap something we've talked about in the past, but I have a ton of new followers just in the past month alone, which is great news. So I just wanted to go through again what the steps are for buying homes. So there are literally 5 steps. They get way complicated. There's lots of alphabet letters that come after 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But to simplify things, I thought I would go through real quickly the 5 steps. So I'm going to turn this around. So first of all, I would highly, highly suggest getting pre-approved. I would also suggest using a local lender if possible. There are many loan programs that most people are qualified. You can have anywhere from 0 down payment with the WIDA loan for those lenders who are qualified to do WIDA lending. There are 3.5% down payment programs through FHA, and I believe VA is also 3.5%. Somebody can correct me on that if I'm wrong. There are conventional loan programs that have as little as 5% down. And so as long as you're using a local lender who is reputable, and I have a long list of folks that I have had successes with in the past, I'm happy to refer people to. I don't recommend Rocket Mortgage or any of these online applications because I've had nothing but problems. My buyers have had nothing but headaches, a lot of heartaches, so please go local if possible. There's several reasons I want people pre-approved before we go start looking at houses. Number 1 is I kind of really need you to know how much you can afford and how much you're comfortable with. I really want you to think about, even though you're approved for, let's say, 200, and you know what that mortgage payment is going to look like with principal and interest, let's definitely take into consideration homeowners insurance, taxes, just, if you're living in the country, LP, if you're in the city, you have water and sewer charges and sometimes garbage removal, and then any other life expenses that you have to include in your budget. If you're not a formal budget person, that's fine. Just sit down and estimate a little bit what you want your lifestyle to look at so that you can have a really legitimate comfort zone when you're shopping for a home. Not everybody, even though their income and credit ratings qualify them for a home, not everybody should be spending what they're qualified for just using calculations that way. So it's a serious thing to think about before you go home shopping. Number 2, I think I've mentioned this a million times, but it is extremely, extremely competitive in the buyer's market right now. It's definitely a seller's market as far as the terminology being used. And what seller's market means is that there are so few homes in most price tiers to pick from that when a desirable one comes up in that price bracket that most people are looking at, they go very quickly. And if you do not have your pre-approval letter submitted with your offer, and generally they're usually going to be multiple offers submitted within a couple of days on a listing to a seller to pick from. They're going to want the highest and best offer. They're going to want the most desirable terms for them as sellers. They don't care what your situation is. They want to make sure that they come out with the best offer possible for them. That doesn't always mean it's the highest priced offer. Sometimes there are sale of home contingencies, or sometimes there are, several things thrown in, like asking for a home warranty that some sellers don't want to pay for. Sometimes other offers are going to eliminate a home inspection contingency. There are many things as far as variables that are considered by a seller before they make a decision. So you have to be pre-approved and ready to go, so that when you find the house that you want to make an offer on, you're not losing out on it because somebody else was ready and you're not. So those are two big reasons. The third reason really is that it's busy for all of us as agents right now. And so my priority, or my time priorities, have to be going to those who are really ready. And I can't be as flexible with taking time out of my day to show something to somebody who may not be qualified for financing and needs to work out some credit issues, when I have a line of folks and limited time to show folks homes that are ready to go. So number one, get pre-approved. All right, so let's move on to number two. Number two on the list is, let's go look at houses. So I just alluded to the fact that it is super busy in the marketplace right now. And that being said, I'm going to ask that any buyers working with me send me the MLS number or the street address of the property they want to look at, along with a day and time that they're available, a couple of different options, because with as many people in the market right now as there have been, we need to be able to have several options for me to be able to coordinate schedules with, and that sometimes just takes a little bit of finagling, and typically it works out just fine. But just make it easy for me to be able to go out and show you homes is very much appreciated. When we're out looking at homes, I'm pointing out things that I think you should be considering. I'm not one to just stand back and let you roam around the house by yourself. I'll definitely be taking a look at the property, noting how old the roof looks, how old the windows look, how old the furnace and the central air and the water heater, and kind of making notes of things, the electrical, trying to figure out if it's 100 amp or 200 amps, if it's a breaker box that is like Federal Pacific, is something that needs to be addressed before closing, because most homeowners insurance companies won't cover some of those boxes, not all. And I have a duty to point out defects that I see. So that is something I actively do when we're out on showings. I generally want to clump things together. So again, in the time restraints that are going on right now in the marketplace, with as busy as it is, I'm going to want to generally look at more than one property as we go out, unless it's specifically the property. But if you have a list of things that you're interested in, I'm going to try and figure out a way for us to go see more than one at a time. And so that brings us then to you managing to find the house that you love. And then we're going to sit down and we're going to write an offer. And I'm not going to just wing it. I'm going to go through initially, if this is your first time buying a home or you haven't done it in a very long time, I'm going to explain it thoroughly, what you're making decisions on. I generally do things electronically. I have an electronic zip forms program that you're going to set up an electronic signature that's password protected and encrypted. And so we'll go through what details you want on the offer. I'm going to help advise you I'm not going to tell you or make decisions for you, so that's something that you're going to have to be ready to do. When I explain to you what your options are, you're going to have to be prepared to make a decision. On an offer, well, I'm not going to go in that in depth. We could be here forever for that. So generally, it takes a little bit to maybe negotiate with a seller. Sometimes they get accepted right away. Let's say the offer gets accepted. The next step is to have your inspections and appraisal. So this is something where your upfront cost is going to be a conversation that I'll have with you before we really write an offer, or before we really even go out and look at things. If you haven't ever purchased a home before, I want you to understand that a down payment isn't the only expense to you when you're purchasing a home. And so we're going to talk about the other expenses that come along with the process, and generally that includes inspections, and sometimes appraisal fees are paid up front. Homeowners insurance premiums sometimes are required up front. So we'll talk about those things before you write an offer, before we actually go out and take a look at things. Your bank, if you have a mortgage, is going to require an appraisal that comes back at or above purchase price. We were seeing issues with those earlier this year, but I haven't had an issue in quite some time. Haven't heard anybody else in the market talking about having issues in a few months. So I think we're finally caught up on the appraisal end, as far as not having low appraisals coming back anymore. So that's step number 4. And once we get past all the contingencies in the offer that you've written, nice shot of my couch there, we get to closing day. And at closing, you sign paperwork at a title company, mostly. In general, that's where we go. Typically, the seller's going to pick where the title company is that we're going to close at. There will be buyer closing costs and seller's closing costs involved. Generally, the financing includes all of those things as well. But that is the day that you, in most cases, will get your keys and take ownership of the property. And from there, I follow up along the way to see how things are going. And that's it. So 5 short steps that get much more complicated than I just went into detail on, but those are things that I talk about more in depth with buyers in person. And I'm happy to do that. If you have questions, please feel free while you're listening to me to post your questions below. I would be happy to answer those. Or if you're seeing this video after I've gone live and it's posted on my wall, feel free to comment below, and I'll certainly either reach out to you privately if it's something more personal, or answer the question right in the comment section below. Again, I have a list of lenders available that I recommend in getting your pre-approval if you haven't already started that step, and then we can go from there. Next thing I wanted to talk about is that it is Wednesday, and the reason I decided to do this particular video today is to let you know that I am starting an exciting new segment, I guess I would call it, where I will be interviewing people in the Maryland-Wausau area live with me on Wednesdays, and I'm going to call that segment Where You Live Wednesdays. So these folks will be anything having to do with where you live. So next week, Wednesday, I will be interviewing Tara Plaisant from the Wausau, City of Wausau Economic Development Department about the Live It Up Down Payment Assistance Program in the City of Wausau. And she will have about a 5-minute presentation to bring you all up to speed. I will post the time that we decide to get together. We're going to try and do it in the evening to make it easier for parents to be able to access the live portion. It'll be probably somewhere around 7:30, 8:30, somewhere in that range. We'll get that set in stone in the next couple of days, and we'll get that posted for you, but it will be next week, Wednesday. So Where You Live Wausau, or excuse me, Where You Live Wednesdays will start in Wausau. But if you are in the Merrill or Wausau area and there is something that you either offer as a service or a venue or an event that you would like me to focus on in a segment, get in contact with me. Let me know what that is. I will start a list. I'm going to probably start this out every other week. But I think my ultimate goal would be to do Where You Live Wednesdays every week. So again, I'm going to start with the Live It Up Wausau down payment assistance program, just because that was the first program that I had available to me to meet with to put together a little program. I'm also going to interview hopefully a title company. I would like to interview lenders if possible. There are a bunch of regulations that they have to be able to, as far as compliance, meet. So still waiting to hear back from a couple of lenders to see if they are able to be interviewed live and what they can and can't discuss on
Facebook.
Homeowners insurance agent is somebody I thought about talked with about interviewing, and then a couple of other ideas I had floating around out there. So again, if you have an idea that you want me to interview so that you can ask questions of, let me know. Post it in the comments below. I'm going to be starting a running list of those folks in the community that I think will be of interest to you. I'd also like to highlight area things to do. So, for instance, Monk Gardens, anything with the downtown Wausau or Merrill areas. If there are events that you think that I should highlight, I would love to do that. And I think when you're in real estate, you're sort of an ambassador for the areas that you're selling in, and I love this area. So I think that I'd like to be able to share with everybody that's moving to this area who's seeing these videos from outside of where we live now and considering moving here. I'd like to be able to help them have an easier transition into the area and know some of the hot spots to check out. So, and again, other services that are related to home. So like if you're an interior designer, I've been asked a couple of times for references, and I know a couple of people. I don't know them well though. So if you have an interest in being interviewed about what services you're able to offer, let me know. And from there, we'll just see how it expands. I'll also have a couple of fall events happening. I have finally set a date for my customer appreciation party. It's going to be September 30th. So if you have worked with me in the past or are currently working with me, I'll be sending out some invitations in the very near future. I'll probably be working on those over the weekend so that I can get them out right away Tuesday and give everybody some time to get their schedules squared away and RSVP so I can plan on feeding y'all. And again, if you have any questions for me, please feel free to post. Please share these announcements as far as the topics that will be presented as we start to go along. But again, next week, Wednesday, I'll be interviewing Tara from the city of Wausau about the Live It Up program, which is again a down payment assistance program, and essentially it can be up to $11,000 of assistance in down payment, which makes a pretty big impact on some mortgage payments. So hope you've enjoyed some of this, and it got a little wordy, but you know what, I'm exhausted and my mouth just kept going. So have a good night, and we'll talk to you again very soon.